I am psycho-degenerate and I am destroying society. And today I want to talk about Simoun. This is a science fiction anime from 2006 and it's 26 episodes long. And I'm going to be talking about the first episode. Similarly to something like Utena, this show can be a bit dark sometimes, but it's not especially edgy about it, so that's something. It's a yuri anime, so if you're upset by there being homosexuals in your anime, then Queen, get the fuck out, because you are not going to like it. I kind of compare this to Battlestar Galactica 2004 series. I haven't seen the other ones. But the politics are a little more background and it's more focused on just the, drama. There's still some things that you can certainly look at politically very easily, but it's more backgrounded. I've watched it several times, and I'm just going to rewatch an episode and talk about it every so often. The first thing that always stands out to me when I watch this show is that this isn't from the show, but we have Kobayashi's backgrounds. This is an example. It's not from the show, but it's got these backgrounds, and they're not too colorless and bleak. Like a lot of science fiction nowadays, especially Western films, live action films, a lot of the time it looks so bleak and colorless and it looks awful. But this doesn't do that as much. It definitely looks not bright all the time, but it doesn't look bleak and awful and colorless. This is also a mecha anime, not in the sense that there's giant robots though. There's just there's the mecha tanks and shit kind of mecha, except for it's not tanks mostly. It's they've got their fancy magical mecha airplanes, and they have all these guns and shit that look cool and whatever mecha are supposed to do. Mecha's all CG though, and it looks pretty weird sometimes, especially next to the backgrounds, which are hand painted on real cells, which Kobayashi would do, even though it was 2006, because he was extra, which I can appreciate. But the CG looks kinda bad. It was 2006, so I guess they weren't going to make it look good, and I assume they didn't have the resources and capability to make it hand-drawn mecha, which I would have liked, but they did not. They have something else I'd like to note about it is that they have some pretty neat looking, like, weird science fiction outfits that I like. I like the one that the enemy pilots are all in. And I like the one that the main character Aru is in when she shows up, like halfway through the episode or so. Something else to note about this is that they have the first postcard memories, which are like the still frames. They do the still frames, and in Nishimura, the guy who directed this, said that he wasn't a Dazaki fan exactly. Like, he liked Dazaki okay, but he wasn't like trying to be Dazaki. But since Kobayashi was working on the project, he figured that the postcard memories would connect the scenes pretty well, and that if Kobayashi drew them, they look good, because Kobayashi worked with Zaki and all that. Some people don't like those, but I think that not all of them in this show, but some of them are done pretty well. And I'm a Zaki fan to some extent. So, hey. The one thing... Okay, so the first half of this episode is basically just all... They get in their magical airplanes, and they, go off into battle and whatnot against these people. And, like, one thing that I think was neat about it is that despite that their enemies are wearing this full bodysuit with like a mask and shit, this like big outfit, like you see stormtroopers and whatnot wearing in every fucking Star Wars movie or whatever, like where they're just the faceless drones for the heroes to massacre, for your viewing pleasure. But in this, they start out, despite they've got this kind of outfit, and they could go in that direction very easily, they start out with these, with the main, with like this one person talking, who's a pilot on who they're fighting against, who they're going into battle against, and the first act of this show, of the episode, ends with this character dying. And I think that it's interesting because it obviously paints more of a picture of these characters as like who they're fighting as people rather than just as faceless drones. This person's talking and not everything they say is like, wow, this person is an amazing person, maybe. Like, they're saying this nationalist stuff and all that, but like, you can look at the things they're saying and go, well, I can understand and comprehend this, You can go, this makes a kind of sense that someone would believe something like this. They aren't just evil for the hell of it, And, like, you can understand why someone would have that opinion. And that's more interesting, I think, than just making them evil for the hell of it, Throughout this whole first act of the episode, they have like the dramatic music playing, and it really helps to sell it. Like, even as these anime girls are going into battle on their magic airplanes and powering them by kissing each other, this really is like, it still has a sense that it's serious because they're playing this dramatic music. Like, you know, like, and they like have that all throughout the first half of the episode. Like, some of them get shot down and shit, and they like have like, they're basically just get shot down and they shoot people down, and some stuff happens. You'll know it is if you watch the show, I guess. But yeah. And a bit later in the show, in the first episode, they talk about this like weird stuff where they like have so everyone on this planet or whatever in this weird science fiction setting or whatever the fuck, they all like are born as anime girls, and then when they grow up, they grow up by choosing a gender or whatever that they'll be, and they're all like genderless or something, but conveniently they look like anime girls, so they can have anime girls kissing. But yeah. And like this, as well as the obvious implication in lots of anime stories that this would be like a coming of age story and all that bullshit, like those are all over the place. But it's also interesting to look at it through the angle of that specifically is dealing with them, with these characters not only growing up, but coming into the gendered expectations that they have in this world. Like, they have to choose a gender or whatever, and then they have to fulfill that gender role, you know. That role, they have to fulfill it because they chose the gender. And like that means that like this is a good setup for having a show that deals with the sort of gender expectations and roles, you know, and what society expects of that. And they like, it's another thing that's worth noting is that the connection to like Takarazuka, because this is set because all the voice actors are all women playing even like the adult male characters and stuff. They're all women, they're all talking in this kind of way, you know. They're talking, the voices are women for the dudes. And so you have this, and like it's very similar to Takarazuka, how they all have they'll have the roles being played of men being played by women and all that, you know. And I think that was probably intentional that they would have that on it, like have that be a connection that you draw. so you have that, and then you have like, this means that this show is like very set up to potentially, like it's, and this kind of setup makes it so it can like comment on things like misogyny and heterosexism and all that spicy bullshit. And I'm interested in those things. So anyway, that's what I have to say about the first episode of that, I guess. And I'll probably make another one of these at some point, because I like talking about things and I'm opinionated. So I guess you could like it and subscribe or whatever. I don't give a fuck.